Have you ever started a HOI4 run thinking, I don't need tanks, infantry can handle this? And then it happens. That specific moment every infantry-only player knows. Your entire front line collapses faster than you can say, why is everything red? And that's when you realize you have made a horrible mistake. According to a completely fake HOI4 psychology study, the infantry-only run begins with a dangerous combination of two things: false confidence and extreme laziness. Some players love simplicity, not the good kind, the dangerous one. The kind where you convince yourself that more infantry equals more power. They open the tank designer and feel immediate panic, then decide that mass-producing basic infantry is a tactical choice. But in reality, they are just looking for the easy way out. The player notices the first signs of disaster, loss of attack, and supply crying for help. This is where he starts convincing himself that if he just add more artillery, maybe it will work. But of course, he doesn't have enough artillery, because he spent the entire early game mass-producing guns. So he decides to add support artillery instead. Then he reinforces the lines with even more infantry, believing quantity will magically turn into quality. And then, after weeks of fighting, his front line starts collapsing as if it were made of paper. HOI4 is already overwhelming for new players, so it makes sense that many look for the easiest path. Anything with extra steps gets ignored, and they fall back on the simplest solution: just train infantry. The problem with that is that infantry has terrible breakthrough and a weak soft attack, and you need those stats to actually win fights against low armor divisions like basic infantry or motorized units. Now you can fix this issue by adding artillery to your template, but that also means you can't just spam infantry anymore, because your production won't keep up with the extra equipment they need. And spamming infantry won't help you much, because overstacking too many divisions causes major supply issues, which in turn, of course, makes your units underperform. Eventually, some players discover that CAS fixes everything, and suddenly they think they have cracked the meta. But after a few campaigns, the infantry CAS combo gets boring. The excitement disappears, and that's when players quietly stop playing. And those who go to multiplayer face a harsh wake-up call. That same infantry CAS combo collapses instantly, and reality hits. They need to learn how to make tanks, proper templates, and real game knowledge. And from there, it's a fork in the road. Either they rage quit forever, or they finally start learning templates, tank design, and the actual game. But that's not all. Once you understand how HOI4 really works, your whole playstyle transforms. You start building strategy that actually work. Suddenly you are using mountaineers, tanks, or even some cursed elite push division you invented at 3 AM. And suddenly, you're paying attention to the stats you used to ignore. Organization, which basically tell you how long a division can stay in a fight. Soft attack, which is how well it hits soft targets. Breakthrough, which decides whether you can push through enemy lines without taking horrible losses. And maybe even speed, if you want super fast units that can encircle the enemy easily. And with all of that in mind, you finally realize something important. Infantry was never supposed to win wars by itself. It is there to hold lines, guard costs, and look pretty. And when you stop spamming 8 billion infantry divisions, manpower finally stops being a problem. You are now focusing on quality over quantity. And suddenly, you're actually planning out which resources you need, who to trade with, and what equipment your dream army is going to use. Then you finally open the tank designer, and this time, all the confusing mechanics, breakthrough, soft attack, armor, and speed suddenly make sense. So you start actually to build something. You slap on howitzer and small cannon to boost soft attack, and maybe throw in a radio to add more breakthrough. Then you tweak the engine for more speed, so it ends up both strong and fast. After producing the tank, you make the template and try to keep an eye on the orc so it stays in combat as long as possible. And then you start tying everything into the doctrine system. You are no longer stuck with just mass assault. Now you're trying out mobile warfare, superior firepower, all sorts of stuff. And the second that division hits the field, you feel like you've just unlocked a secret weapon that's going to let you take over the world. Then you finally see it in action and watch how it's tearing through enemy lines like a hot knife through butter. Suddenly you're pulling off encirclements with A's and wiping out enemy troops without breaking a sweat. And from that moment, you swear you will never go back to infantry-only games. You are now the monster you used to fear in multiplayer. And from that moment on, you start experimenting even more with division templates or even with designing a tank. But you haven't become unstoppable yet, because eventually you realize your cool, unique divisions get stumped by what everyone calls the meta. And that's where you hit another fork in the road. You either surrender to the meta and start following it and slowly become obsessed with it, or you hold on to your creative spirit and keep inventing weird divisions that actually work. Now, sure, following the meta wins battles easily. Just stick to the spreadsheets and boom, everything dies. But it gets boring fast. You will probably end up quitting the game. Just like when CAS was discovered and the infantry CAS combo became the only strategy in the game back when infantry-only games was a thing. And the problem is that most meta divisions are so overpowered they can crush basically anything in their way. That's why a lot of multiplayer games run rules like no Space Marine divisions, which is basically the trick of mixing armored units with infantry to boost hardness and take way less damage. And honestly, that's probably why you don't see that many people playing online. Most HOI4 players enjoy it as a single-player game, because there, you're not forced into following the meta. You can experiment, get weird, and actually have fun doing it. But the downside is the AI is terrible at making divisions that actually work, which means almost anything you design will end up being viable. But that's also why mods like ShipMod exist. They massively improve the AI, so it actually becomes challenging to beat. If you made it this far, you're basically part of the channel already. So smash subscribe, drop a like, and check out the next video about HOI4 player types. It is basically the entire community, but in a video form.